What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious Rant with Bert and Rye. Today we're going to be talking about a show I think both him and I have been looking forward to since we heard about it. Because I don't know if y'all remember the movie Ready Player One from 2018 where, I forgot that one kid's name, but they essentially live in permanent VR to a certain extent with video game characters and stuff. This is like that, but maybe a little bit better in some aspects. We're talking about Amazon's latest anthology series from Tim Miller, one of the creators of Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, and that is Secret Level on Amazon Prime. All the episodes are out, and lucky for everybody, the maximum length I've seen is like 19 minutes, 20 minutes tops. So this is a very easy show to digest really quickly. Like, honestly, I think 2 or 3 hours and you're done with the entire show. So however you'll want to look at it, it's not bad. We're going to give Bern and I, since this is this is an interesting one, since it is anthology and, it just literally finished up after 2 weeks. We'll just let you guys know if we recommend it for you guys to check it out, and then we'll get into some minor spoilers right after that. So we're changing it up a little bit. So like I said, this is an anthology series where it covers, a dozen plus video games. There's about 15 episodes, about 15 really. It talks about the new Warhammer universe from Space Marine 2, Sifu, which came out a few years ago, Armored Core, Spelunky, the most recent canceled game, Concord, which didn't even last 24 hours, so that's one. And a lot of other games that I think some will probably consider deep cuts, and some are actually reimaginings of these stories. So, I would say I definitely recommend this, especially if you're into pop culture as a gaming person. But the only thing I will say, this is a very double-edged review for me, because while I did love it, I'm gonna keep watching this show. It's one of those things that it's too damn short for its own good, especially with some of these characters like Warhammer and Armored Core and all that stuff. I think they definitely could have done a lot more to expand upon it, especially for most of these stories, actually, not the ones I was just mentioning, but and yeah, that I guess that's basically that's all my cons kind of rolled into, is really just timing, whether it wasn't explained enough, or whether I wanted more of it in a good way. That's kind of the biggest problem with this one, but I would definitely recommend it. So, Bern, what did you think about this, and would you recommend it to anyone?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this to people if you're a fan of video games or any of these properties that these episodes cover, or if you're just a fan of animation in general. There's a lot of really cool visuals going on here. Even like you mentioned, whether the episode lengths justify it or not, it's really pretty to look at, from beginning to end. I will say that even for the episodes that I didn't enjoy as much, it was really cool seeing these different properties given a different adaptation. Instead of playing the games, you kind of get to watch it unfold on the screen for as little or as long as the episodes are. So yeah, just the novelty of it all is really fun. As you mentioned, this is from the same creators of Love, Death, and Robots, and that has a fun sci-fi short story twist to that. And this one definitely takes more of the video game side of things and those sort of properties. So yeah, for anyone that's anywhere near interested in that, this is definitely worth a watch. And like you mentioned, it's a breezy watch too. It's one's episode starts and ends, and you're on to the next one. And like you mentioned, you're only going to spend maybe at most 19 minutes with these singular episodes. So they're nice little morsels, little appetizers for the broader genres or broader IPs that they cover. But it's a fun enough tease for those things, I will say that. But yeah, the length is the biggest selling point almost, and the biggest detractor, where you can get in, you can get out and have fun, but for the people who are really, really big fans of these things, you might be left wanting more at the end of the day.
I just thought about that, Bern, that how it's so short. It's that's actually how I game. I just casually game, sometimes hours on end. But is it good or bad? It kind of depends how you look at it. Anyways, so Bern and I both definitely recommend it. So we're gonna get into our minor spoilers aspect of this review, and we'll definitely give more of our ranting oh my god, I can't talk, our rantings on each episode, just because it's an anthology, so it's a little bit different. So if you haven't watched all of it yet, come on back and hop on with us. So yeah, like I said, this came out last week, and the first episode of the batch was, and I thought it was actually interesting that they did it, like basically cut in half. But again, that's because the length was so short, so I didn't think about that at the time. Episode 1, which was Dungeons and Dragons, titled The Queen's Cradle. I'm going to give that one a 4. I thought it was very well done because I don't have too much experience with D&D. I know you and I definitely tried playing it, via Zoom and stuff during COVID, but it just wasn't the same. Maybe I'd have more fun in person, and then just what I've seen in Stranger Things, because those are all because they're a bunch of D&D nerds. But I thought animation-wise, very well done. Great character design, especially with the dragons and stuff in that show. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I would definitely like to see that episode be expanded upon for season 2 and whatnot. What did you think of that one?
For me, the D&D one is going to be a 3 out of 5. As you mentioned, the animation here is gorgeous. A lot of really cool character designs, and it's fun how they had a mix of races and a mix of party classes that they have. Ones that you would see if for people who are familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop game, or any form of a video game like Baldur's Gate or something like that, where they have those elements in them. So yeah, it was cool seeing that sort of mission play out with the party and stuff, and seeing the different spells that were on display. So yeah, this one was just very light fun, a nice little brief introduction for Dungeons and Dragons. But I think for anyone who's a fan of, or a really big fan of that property, you're probably better suited watching the Dungeons and Dragons movie or Vox Machina that is also on Amazon Prime. So yeah, this one was a nice little tease, fun way to start off this anthology series. But yeah, other than that, it was just kind of like a breezy watch.
Yeah, and I forgot about the Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out last year. That was one of those ones that definitely slipped under the radar. But next episode was the game I was mentioning earlier, Sifu, which came out in 2022. Never really heard about it. I don't even remember that game coming out. I know you were talking to me about that. That one I'm going to, I'm going to give it a 3, just because it was really well done. Again, the animation actually reminded me a lot of Arcane that just finished up, where it's kind of looks like it's 2D, but definitely with 3D aesthetics in a way. It's almost like Blue Eye Samurai and Arcane mixed together, and it wasn't bad. I thought the action was good. It kind of get the gist of it by the end of it, but the length is where it really it kind of killed it for me. It was too short. It kind of took me a rewatch or two to really get into it, where the first time I was like, that's it? What was the point of this? Cool, I got to see some beautifully done animation and action, but yeah, just not enough meat on the bone. So yeah, 3 out of 5 rantings for that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one for me was the embodiment of the criticism I've heard about this show going in, where it feels like more of a trailer for the game rather than a standalone episode of of an anthology based on this IP. So it definitely felt that way for me. I have played Sifu, really love that game, really cool martial arts combat in that, and I thought the animation did a really good job of bringing that the animation style of the game to life on the big screen. I thought they mimicked that pretty well. Showcased a lot of the action beats really cool. For people who do know, this is basically a summary of the first mission in the game, which is really cool. But yeah, in terms of the length, this one was one of the more disappointing ones. I think it probably clocks in about 5 to 7 minutes roughly. And yeah, it really felt more like a trailer for the game in that sense, where it was very truncated, it was very rushed. We didn't even get to see the final battle, which was a little bit frustrating. But yeah, so for all those reasons, it's going to be a 2 out of 5 for me. Again, I love how they brought it to life in terms of the animation. I thought they handled all that aspect really well. It's just really the length of it all, where it felt like it really could have used a couple more minutes there to really just sort of bring everything home, because it feels sort of like it ends abruptly, and that was kind of frustrating.
Yeah, that's how I felt with that one. Very just it was just too quick. It jumped us in way too far. The third one was probably the funniest of the bunch, which is New World, the Once and Future King, where the main character is voiced by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like Groundhog Day and Edge of Tomorrow, and then shoot, I don't know. I can't think of another like I can't think of like a medieval comedy at the moment, but it's pretty fun. I'm gonna give that one a 4 out of 5 rantings just because again, great animation. Arnold Schwarzenegger definitely had a lot of fun with it. Gabriel Luna was really cool in it. Never really heard of the game, but I assume it could be one of those like MMORPGs or something where like a strategy game where you're like building civilizations and stuff. This one just had like almost like a Conan feel to it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't think I would like it that much when I saw it, but I was like, it was great.
Yeah, me neither. This one was a huge surprise for me. Again, like you mentioned, it's probably the funniest of all the anime shorts, and Arnold Schwarzenegger did a really fun job. Again, his stilted line delivery, his like, it's just it works for this character who's supposed to be an idiot but like endearing. So it was a lot of fun. The way that they portray the world and the whole time loop aspect of it was really created within this like fantasy setting. So yeah, they had a lot of fun with this. A surprising amount of gore in this too, which was darkly funny. This one just overall, and again, there was a really touching message at the end of it too. Underneath all the pompness and the circumstance and just the ridiculousness of the situation, there was a really good friendship story at the heart of this. So yeah, this one's a 4 out of 5 for me. A big surprise for sure because I've never heard of this game also.
Yeah, I mean, but that was the good thing about this show is that there are a lot of games I didn't even realize were a thing, or maybe I heard about it. And it definitely some of these episodes really made me want to get introduced to those games. So I really am happy with that. Like the next one, easily one of my favorite episodes in the entire show, which is the Unreal Tournament titled Xan, like XAN, and that one's just about robots essentially rising up of just being actual labor and then going through it's almost like a sci-fi version of Gladiator in a way. And yeah, that one's easily a 5 out of 5 because not only was it character design was on point, animation, I mean I'm gonna keep saying that all night, but the animation for any of these episodes was just phenomenal, so that's a given at that point. But it just was a very good story. Definitely felt like one of the more complete arcs. But I would still love for them to expand on this one as well. So definitely 5 out of 5.
Oh yeah, easy 5 out of 5 for me. Probably the biggest surprise of the first batch outside of New World, which I had no knowledge of. But this one, I'm just through cultural osmosis, you kind of like know what Unreal Tournament is. This shooter story, this like shooter game. But yeah, this was basically Spartacus, as like a robot. It's just really cool seeing this like this uprising going on within this like universe where you're rooting for the robots to like overthrow this horrible regime that's going on here. And again, like you mentioned, this story felt complete. It felt like they accomplished a lot. This one I think is one of the longer ones, and it used that runtime perfectly and kind of justifies why all the episodes should probably be around this length because it told its story really well. And like you mentioned, of course, the animation's great, but yeah, a huge surprise for me. Definitely one of my favorites of the entire season.
Yeah, I feel like majority of the longer ones, which is there's like a small handful of, they definitely put a lot more work and storytelling into those ones where the rest of them they're just kind of like, oh yeah, we did that, there you go. So yeah, I'm glad we're both on the same page on that one. And then the next one, I'm pretty sure on the same page on this one too. This is the Warhammer 40K episode titled "And They Shall No Fear." There's no fear. I'm sorry. That just sounds weird saying no in one sentence. But anyways, this one is, I would say for those like I'm kind of new to the Warhammer universe just by playing Space Marine 2. I think I played the first one when it came out on like PS3 like 10 plus years ago, but don't really remember too much. But this one is literally just, if you know anything about Warhammer, this is exactly what it's basically about. And it's just a quick suicide mission. And I'm glad they got the original actor from the second game who plays Titus, and then they got Adewale. I can't say the rest of his name. I apologize, but they got him as one of the other main character. I'm not gonna get too much into it. I'm gonna geek out about it for a while. It's hard 5 out of 5, and if this is definitely one of those episodes, if you're not interested in the Space Marine 2 game, I don't know what would get you interested at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine how happy longtime Warhammer fans are because, like you, I'm a new convert, a recent convert with the latest release of the Space Marine 2 video game. So coming into it fresh, definitely went down the rabbit hole of diving deep into the lore, which there's an extensive amount of. So it's impossible for me to have done that within like the last few months. But yeah, this was just so cool. Such a great depiction of that universe. Awesome action, really a really cool brotherly, like almost like mentor mentee story going on here amidst all this like weirdly cool, gory, grim dark action. Yeah, as a new fan, I loved it. Like I said, I can only imagine how much longtime fans are really enjoying this, and hopefully there's some more to come in some form or fashion with the Cavill series. But as of right now, I think Warhammer fans are eating pretty good with Space Marine 2, and then now this. Yeah, great episode.
Oh, 100%. I'm sorry if this didn't satisfy you as a Warhammer fan, then you either want too much or I don't know what to tell you. But I am very happy that we got news on Henry Cavill's series getting pushed forward with Amazon. So don't know when we'll get it, but if a Secret Level Season 2 comes out, they better do another one and expand it. Because, even though this one was around the longer ones, I want to say like 19 minutes, it's still just, it wasn't enough, but in the best way. Not in like a way of like, oh man, that's it. So yeah. And then the next episode was a Pac-Man Circle, which actually was a very interesting casting on that one. Emily Swallow, who plays the armor in Mandalorian series, she was the voice of Puck. And because I thought Pac-Man, like, what is it really going to be about? How can you make it around that game? Because there's no real story to it. It's just you're going after the fruits and the little bits, and then you have to worry about the ghosts. But man, this was such a dark reimagining. It really changes up how I feel about Pac-Man. Like, man, it was pretty messed up. But I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 just because while I do feel like that's one of the more complete stories, it still wasn't long enough to a certain extent. Again, just the length really. But yeah, 4 out of 5 for that one. It took me by surprise. I think one of them.
Oh yeah, same here. Just such an interesting twist on the general concept of something eating everything else in this maze, labyrinth, whatever thing they're in. Just a great twist on that. It was so cool and very surprising. Again, like you, I didn't know what to expect from a Pac-Man episode. This was far from anything I could have ever predicted, but really creative. I can imagine this one is pretty divisive amongst people. Again, you hear Pac-Man, this is definitely not what you imagine, but I had a lot of fun with this episode and really took me by surprise, and I just liked how messed up it was. I liked the how weird it got to. It was just really interesting concept. So yeah, for me this one is also a 4 out of 5
for sure. And then the next one after that was Crossfire, which is like an FPS shooter game from what I can remember. I know they did like a new one recently, but it was way more sci-fi. This one was a disappointment because I am a big tactical like FPS shooter fan, or just like third-person shooter. And while I do like that it had Claudio Dumit and from The Boys and the last couple Call of Duty Modern Warfare, basically this newest Modern Warfare series, as well as the guy who played Ghost from Modern Warfare 2 and 3, this one's just a 2 because it was almost boring for like a lot of like shooting and stuff going on, some fight scenes. Yeah, it just didn't really live up to the name. If it was Call of Duty or Rainbow Six Siege or Ghost Recon, I think they could have had a lot more fun with it and maybe a little more entertaining. But yeah, this one just did not win it for me. So kind of a big disappointment on that one.
Yeah, same here. It was all style and no substance, but just like in the sense of like it was all action and really like no story involved here. It was just really cool action sequences of these two teams, battling it out within this like really cool environment, admittedly, and it seems like they're like an abandoned city in the midst of like a hurricane. So all that visually was really cool, and again the action was really cool too. But yeah, other than that, there wasn't really anything there. It's like this seemed just like any cutscene you could see in like a Call of Duty game or something like that. So yeah, this one is a 2 out of 5 for me. Again, the animation is gorgeous. It's just everything else here was just kind of like meh, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember you kind of told me about it before I watched it. I'm like, nah, I'm just maybe Bernie's just being picky with it. And then I watched. I'm like, nope, I agree with him. God damn it, I agree with him. So, this next one is easily my other favorite of this one, aside from Unreal Tournament and Warhammer, and that is Armored Core, starring Keanu Reeves, which is one they heavily marketed with him, and it did not disappoint. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. Definitely wants me to get makes me want to get Armored Core 6, which is on PlayStation and stuff like that, and another universe. Like, it's one of the shorter ones. I want to say this one was around 8 minutes or 11 minutes. It's in between one of those. It's around that time of like 11 minutes or so. And man, I still wanted so much more. I just wanted to see Keanu Reeves kick more ass, And yeah, so very, very cool one. Again, my other favorite so far.
This one for me is a 4 out of 5. I have played the Armored Core 6, really fun game, my first Armored Core game. So getting to see sort of that mecha combat within the episode was really cool. And then of course having Keanu Reeves there as the main character, who is kind of hard to root for, was a fun twist on it. And where it does lack for me, I think, is also in the length, and also just kind of doing it doesn't I don't feel like it really does a great job of like introducing people into like the world and just kind of like the context of it all. I feel like for people who are hardcore Armored Core fans, they would be able to pick and piece things together, but even for someone like me who has played one of the games, it still was a little bit like, wait, what's going on here? But other than that, it was absolutely fantastic. Like I said, 4 out of 5. Really cool action, really messed up main character, and of course Keanu Reeves was great. It was really cool seeing an Armored Core action sequence. Just the novelty is really, really dope.
Yeah, how there's Scream Queens. He's basically a sci-fi king. This Matrix, Cyberpunk as Johnny Silverhand. Like, he's breathtaking. I'm just gonna leave it at that one. And then the next one after that, which is part of the last batch that came out just this week, that is the Outer Worlds. The company we keep. So I haven't really played the game. I do kind of remember it a little bit, like hearing about it. Came off very like BioShock wise to me, or at least that's kind of what I felt about it. And man, it was just a very dark story. Like, I was kind of sad at the end of it. That one's gonna be a 4 because it's just very almost. It's like very bittersweet humor in a way, and also just a sad story about love. So definitely one of the better stories in the show. Just yeah, very well done.
Yeah, another game that I haven't played but has been on my list for a long time. In terms of the Outer Worlds, I know they just announced a sequel to that, so it'll be interesting to see if this short garners any sort of like more hype around that. But yeah, the central story here is pretty tragic. The main character is one you really want to root for, and then just are super let down by the end. So it was a really well told story within the time limit that they had of making you really feel for this guy and really let down by the decision by the end of it. So yeah, I mean, for me, this one is going to be a 3. Really good. It's just I felt like the world was a little bit I wanted more from this one, but I think within the confines of the time limit, I thought they did a pretty decent job of it.
Yeah, and also now that I think about it, I got a lot of like Fallout vibes in a way where it's like kind of in like a desert area, sci-fi again. Yeah, like I said, definitely very interesting episode. And the next one, which is one of the other biggest disappointment, which is Mega Man, and that's another one they really leaned on heavily promoting this show. And it really hurts to say, but yeah, I'm just gonna give it a 3. Like, I don't want to lowbar it at a 2, but at the same time, because the character design was great, the animation was awesome, very fun moment, but because it's so short and we just don't get enough of Mega Man in it, so this is one of those ones, like I've repeated myself before this episode, that the length of these episodes is really what kills it and what makes it, what can make it. So yeah, like I said, just 3 out of 5 on that one. Very disappointed though.
Everything we got in the episode was great, fantastic. Probably would have been one of my favorites if it weren't like 5 minutes long. That's literally the only thing, man. It just, like Sifu, it feels like it ends before you really even get started with it. And again, one of those where it feels like it's a trailer for something, but it doesn't. I haven't seen, at least at the time of recording, any sort of new Mega Man product being like marketed or anything like that, nor any announcements. So it's like, okay, well, now you sort of tease this in like the very short. I feel like this is probably the shortest episode of the season, if I remember correctly. So it's like, man, to heavily market, the show off of that, and to get it as the shortest episode just feels just very disappointing. But again, everything in it was great. The length is the thing that really detracts from it, because it stops before it really gets even going. So yeah, 2 out of 5 for me on this one. Probably my biggest disappointment, because I was very much looking forward to this Mega Man episode.
Yeah, that was, again, that was one of the few I was telling you about. Like, I can't wait to see it, and yeah, that was very heartbroken by what we got. Definitely did not do it justice, unfortunately. But the next one definitely picked it back up from there, and that's on Exodus Odyssey, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, Bern, it's a newer game. Like, it hasn't come out, or has it not?
No, it hasn't come out yet. It looks like it's been announced. There was like a trailer recently for it, but I think I read somewhere that it is based on a series of books, I think.
Okay, that's cool. So hopefully it'll be the next, like, Witcher series, but, sci-fi. And yeah, this one was a very touching story. Just this guy's daughter jetting off into space to just be a traveler, as they call it, and the father chasing her. Very Interstellar and Lightyear mixed together, and it's both beautiful and heartbreaking. This is my other 5 I'm giving this entire show, and that's basically Unreal, Warhammer, Armored Core, and this are my favorite episodes of this entire season. So well done, and just, again, very interesting world of, like, I actually am really looking forward to the game. Haven't watched the trailer yet, but this is definitely one of those episodes that make me think I'd play that if it was an actual game. So I'm glad.
Yeah, it did a good job of like selling the idea of this, like, this sci-fi world, very Mass Effect esque. Again, the central story, being a personal story of a father looking for a daughter, was really good and heartfelt, and helped keep an emotional core throughout this journey, like you mentioned, that spans across space and time. So it's one of those, yeah, very much Interstellar, very much Lightyear esque, and I thought they handled it really, really well. So yeah, for me, this one is going to be a 4 out of 5, and yeah, one of my top episodes of the show.
Yeah, again, just the more I think, but I remember watching it, I thought the way they were telling time, I was a little confused at first. I'm like, there's no way they'd be alive after this. I'm like, nope, never mind. I was overthinking it, so it was just a funny moment for me. This next one is actually, I want to say, the only, well, no, it's kind of like another 2D episode in a way with 3D aesthetic, and that is Spelunky, which I did look up subsequently after watching the episode. It's kind of like one of those, like, just platform adventure games, very similar to like Mario, old school Mario and stuff like that. That one had Ariana Greenblatt from Borderlands, the best movie of the year, and a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, I've never heard of that game, but it was a nice story. Had a good like metaphor for just, or like basically the whole thing of the show is just don't give up. Every day is a new start, essentially. And I'm gonna give that one also a 3, not in a bad way or anything, but I just didn't really know too much about the game. It was a little too short, but again, very, very well done, very fun episode.
Yeah, this one was just kind of some light fun with a nice emotional moment at the end, where it's like, yeah, even in your defeats, you still had an adventure, which is kind of fun when you think about like gaming in that sort of way. Yeah, really, really cool. I thought well voiced. The animation was a lot of fun. Never played the game, but I think anyone who has played it should probably be happy with this episode. I think kind of gets the point of across of like going on an adventure and trying and failing multiple times. So yeah, it was a good bit of fun. This one, 3 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, it's funny because that one and New World are both very like Palm Springs, like Groundhog's Day, where it's just try again essentially. So that was pretty fun. One of the last few episodes was again one that it just had a very bad fate, which is based on Concord, it was a new tournament, like first person shooter game, kind of like Overwatch and Marvel's Rivals and stuff. But yeah, it was one, I think the first game I've ever heard of just dying within 24 hours of being released. Like they literally took it off the market and stopped any sort of work on it, which is kind of scary. Um, but I could see why this episode, it wasn't bad, but it felt a little too, how do I put it? Kind of just played out, typical sci-fi, crew, trying to just go on, like basically go on an adventure, get double crossed, yada yada yada. But I'm gonna give that one a, let me see, I have my rating for it. That one's also gonna be a 3, just because I do like the character design and the sci-fi aspect, but I'll never get to play the game, so that's kind of also I think what influenced it. That was just like, it's there, why do I care?
Yeah, I mean the characters were fun. The story was generally pretty good. This one is also one of the longer ones, so I had a little bit more time to marinate in terms of telling the story from a beginning, middle, and end standpoint. Yeah, I mean Concord was one of those that just kind of came and went, and I wasn't really paying too much attention to it. But what I saw in this episode was genuinely pretty cool. Like I didn't mind it at all. It's even though it does feel very Guardians of the Galaxy light. Those stories are always a good bit of fun if the characters work right and if they bounce off of each other well. And I thought they did here, and some of the action sequences were pretty fun. So yeah, this one for me is going to be a 3 out of 5. I know everyone was expecting this to be absolutely horrible, but I don't think that was the case at all.
No, no, it wasn't horrible by any means. Again, like I said, it was just kind of like, why am I going to get invested in this show kind of thing. This episode at least. So that was my thought process behind it. But it was good. The second to last, the penultimate episode of this season was Honor of Kings, The Way of All Things. And that was, I've never heard of this game either, so I don't know exactly what type it is, but it was a very interesting story in which, going up against some sort of like deity, artificial intelligence that controls this city, and then just almost like it did a very good job of that debate of, fate and then like control or lack of control, really. So that one I'm definitely going to give a 4, just because, again, beautiful animation, very just interesting moments in it. The ending did kind of throw me off a little bit, but at the same time I was like, it was so cool. I couldn't get over it. So definitely one of the stronger episodes of the bunch.
This one is also one of my favorites. This is going to be a 5 out of 5 for me. Like you, I have no familiarity at all with this IP. Apparently, it's a MOBA, so those are definitely not my genre. So I'm not going to be picking that up anytime soon. But the episode itself was really cool in terms of just the world design. That old architecture mixed with like sci-fi tech and just the philosophy of it all, going against, a god essentially, and trying to outsmart them or outwit them when they already know your next move. It was just a really cool idea. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. One of the more heady, in terms of like the things that it's dealing with. So I really enjoyed that. Yeah, this one is definitely in the top of my favorites for the season.
Very fair on that one. And the last one, I kind of don't want to talk about it, but we should. That one is Playtime Fulfillment, which is supposed to be the PlayStation episode. And this was another one I was really looking forward to. And again, completely let down. It's a hard 2 out of 5, just because it kind of wasted whatever characters it had. Some really cool ones too that have garnered a lot, like Helldivers 2 was involved. Shadow of the Colossus got a resurgence with its remastered version or remake. God of War from the last couple years. And yeah, this episode was just kind of a dud to end on, unfortunately. So yeah, I wish to end on a stronger note, but yeah, 2 out of 5 on that one.
Yeah, this one was pretty disappointing. It's a 2 out of 5 for me too. I just feel like the message of the episode and the execution of it were just very in contrast with each other. Again, I like the idea of, going back to the heart of what makes gaming fun, where you're playing it because you enjoy the worlds, you enjoy the gameplay, and not so much what it is nowadays where it's just a grind for something. You're trying to unlock this skin or this color for your weapon or whatever. It's just about having fun. So I did love that message, but again, when it's contrasted with a lot of these Sony properties that I love, but are just seem to be there as like window dressing, it just kind of conflicts with each other. So I thought the execution of it was just all over the place, even though they really had a pretty poignant message to give. Yeah, it's one of those, especially if you were going in expecting a PlayStation episode. I can't see how you don't walk away from this feeling in any sort of way let down. So yeah, this one was a little bit of a dud to end on, where it could have been a good one had they really nailed down those themes and used the characters in a little bit more interesting ways, other than, oh look, there's that guy.
I mean, how like how you said the point of it was to enjoy gaming again. It's like, yeah, but they kind of did that with the characters. Like, oh, we just put them in there because we know that's what people want to see. It's like, so you're doing the disservice that you're commenting on. Like, thanks a lot, dude.
Yeah, we're not enjoying these characters. They're just advertising, literally.
Yeah, so I think that one and Mega Man were the ones that pissed me off the most. Crossfire, whatever. I was hoping to be good. It wasn't. That's fine. But aside from all that, even with the disappointments, this was definitely such a fun show. I think definitely one of the strongest ones of the year. Just on a technical aspect alone, with the animation, every episode is beautiful. Works of art. Like, you can't find better animation around, depending on your preference and stuff. Like, Arcane was great, Blue Eye Samurai, like I mentioned. It's all a matter of taste, but I think this one, for like predominantly 3D animation, one of the best, if not the best show out there. So yeah, like I said, I would still recommend it. Any other thoughts on this show, Bern? Or
No, I mean, I think you nailed it down pretty well. As a technical achievement, this is definitely up there along with the other like really good animated stuff that we've seen lately. And excited to see what sort of things they do for season 2. I know in our private discussions I mentioned I wouldn't mind shorter seasons with longer length episodes, just to give a little bit more time to breathe for these properties that they're adapting. But yeah, I mean, this is a really cool project, and I just hope it keeps on going. I know it's greenlit for season 2, but let's see what if it can go on more and more. Because yeah, this is such a neat and novel idea to sort of bring these video game properties into a different format so other people can enjoy them.
yeah, I would say at least if they could be like 20 minutes to 30 minutes long, I think would be a lot better. But again, could be a budget thing, and it was its first season, so maybe these were all just done to just demo the tech and also say, hey, this is what we can do. I would also like to see them not only explore like Armored Core, Warhammer, basically my favorite stuff, my favorite episodes, but also I wouldn't mind other properties getting involved. Like, but again, I'd rather care about the quality over quantity. But I think like Phantom Blade, that one of that Chinese game that I don't think has come out yet. Rainbow Six Siege, Ghost Recon, Sly Cooper from the old PlayStation 2 days. I don't know if any of you guys played that. But it'd be nice to see other stories explored like that. So hopefully we'll get more of that in season 2, but just please make the episodes longer. That's all we can pray for on this one. But yeah, that's our one of the last shows of the year that we're reviewing. We're getting close to New Year's and everything, guys, going into 2025. So stick with us for the rest of this 2024 and then next year. And until next time, stay bodacious and keep on renting.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.